This is Ndtv, and you're watching Classics.
What? We'll take a perfect rest.
For me, it all really began when I picked up the family Agfa film camera. It was one of those 120mm format cameras which used to take 12 exposures per roll of film. I took a few shots, and when the film came back and the prints were developed, I looked at the prints and I said, wow, this is very, very interesting. So I think that was really the moment that I got hooked to the act of image making. I remember working for the first independently produced news program which came on Doordarshan. It was called Newsline. This was followed by a news track, which again was a revolutionary concept for its time. It probed into the dust and the muck, and it often raked up very controversial issues. There was the Babri Masjid demolition, Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, the first Gulf War, the siege of Kabul by the Mujahideen. Many meanderings later, after stretches of freelancing, I eventually ended up here in Ndtv.
Jami. I don't know where to start and where to end.
What can one say about Ajmal Jami?
Jami is, without question, the best cameraman I have ever worked with.
What you heard right behind you was the sound of Ophir's gun.
Best thing about Jami is, of course, that he never stops rolling.
Lean forward, yeah. Lean aage. Well, Gilgit falls under what Pakistan calls the northern areas.
I think the best thing about working with Jami is that you don't need to tell him what to do.
What we do in the field is collaborative. It's the product of teamwork between a camera person and a reporter. The best of work can happen only when both of them spur each other on to do better and better and yet better.
He is an erudite journalist and a wonderful human being. I had first met him, if I remember correctly, was in KARGIL in 1999, when he was the man behind the camera which made Ndtv and Barkhadat a household name during that India-Pakistan conflict.
We got news that there was intrusion in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and some of the hills were occupied by intruders. The meadow of Kumri was abuzz with activity. There were helicopters flying in and flying out. And in front of the tents, we could see lines of people. We entered this one tent and we got to talking with the occupants of the tent, some young soldiers, including a captain. He was Captain Vikram Batra.
My company's success ki was ye dil mange more.
I remember the moon was huge, and there was this beautiful silvery light spread all across the landscape. Now, a Bofors gun makes a rather loud sound. There were all these Bofors guns and they were pounding away at Tiger Hill. And I remember there was one shell which went up and hit the tip of Tiger Hill.
What I saw in that war is that even when Jami was running for his life, and we actually had ammunition pouring down from the Pakistani side, and Jami, even when he was just holding the camera, he was running like this, but he never ever stopped rolling.
Careful, buddy, you're working on tar. Don't worry.
That was quite another shell.
You want to hold something, please?
No, I'm fine, I'll do.
Be careful, this wire here, this wire. Okay, duck. Duck. Yeah. Yes, sir.
We launched multi-barrel rocket launcher attack in addition to the direct firing by Bofors guns. Oh my God. Hello.
I made Barkha stand next to the MBRL, the multi-barrel rocket launcher, and then I shot a piece to camera.
Very large amount of explosives onto the targets in a very short duration of time.
At the end of the piece to camera, the rockets went off. So I swung the camera around and traced the rockets. All these years later, I think that the intensity of the night has not really dimmed, because it was a night that sort of touched the core of your being. And then as night was to end, we got news that Tiger Hill had been retaken.
There's nothing left on top.
And for me, I got particularly choked up when our driver, he came up to me, he was bleeding.
आप कहाँ बैठे थे, आपको क्या चोट लगी?
हमारे पाँव में चोट लग गया और फिर ये बाजू में चोट गया इधर.
He had a bag in which I had packed some of my gear, and he held out to me, and that bag had a lot of cash in it, and he says, "Aapki amanat," and I got all choked up.
I've just had so many adventures with Jami. I mean, just many adventures right across the country for many years. BHUJ stands out. We were out in the open for 10 days, no shelter, nowhere to go to the bathroom. It was really helpful to have Jami at that time because he partnered me through some of the really tough times that we had there.
There was this whole swathe of destruction. Bachao was just obliterated debris for hundreds of square meters. There was nothing but rubble. There were some really strong images which have stayed with me over the years. Since it was 26th of January, I remember seeing a paper flag, a tricolour, lying trampled on the ground, and there was a pair of mismatched slippers lying next to it. A child's slipper and the slipper of somebody who was obviously an elder. I remember seeing a lone wall left standing, a door set in that wall which had a padlock, and essentially it was guarding nothing.
કાય આશરો છે નહીં સમજ્યા અને અલ્લાહના આધારે હું બેઠી છું.
10 आदमी से निकाले हमने जिंदा और 4 भी अभी पड़े हैं अंदर मरे हुए दबे हुए.
The BHUJ earthquake was not the only disaster that I'd covered for Ndtv. There was also the Kashmir earthquake. Now the specifics of earthquakes may vary, but the one underlying thread, of course, is the destruction and the loss of life.
Well, Jami often risked his own life to be able to bring us the pictures of the story, and I remember in the riots especially, his own identity at one point had to be hidden because the rioters were on the streets and they were only letting people of a certain religion pass by, and we actually had to make up a fake name for Jami to get past that barricade of mobsters on the road.
The day after Godhra Express got burnt, Barkha, Rachna Prasad and I were in Baroda. It had seen much violence and we were there trying to shoot this.
This factory was burnt down at least 30 minutes ago. The police officers we met at the barricade told us exactly what happened. But when we reach here, there's not a single police officer at this spot.
I shot terrible sights.
Not once was he flappable, not once did he betray any signs of fear. And as I said, Jami just keeps rolling. He just never stops the camera and he's able to capture every moment that sometimes even your eye cannot capture.
We saw people traumatized, brutalized by the violence. Family members killed, hacked to death. It was terrible.